Hello and welcome to Scarfey Spurs, where your opinion matters. We've got a big panel tonight as we react to Tottenham's 5-1 win over Charlton Athletic in the second round of the Carabao Cup, with Tottenham progressing to round 3. We discuss Sávio's debut in that game and how he looked in that first appearance, that little cameo, and what Spurs fans can expect from him. We'll also get into the huge news today that Omar Marmoush has been announced as official. He's a Tottenham Hotspur player. The 8th signing of the summer is Roberto De Zerbi being backed, and how close is it to a 10 out of 10 window? Also, want to discuss the attack as a whole and just how exciting this new look forward line can be. Are our attacking concerns now over? And finally, we'll turn our attention back to the Premier League for game week 2 as Tottenham take on Newcastle at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. First home game in the Premier League this season in front of the fans. So we talk about the after disappointment against Brentford, can Spurs build on that win against Charlton and put in a much stronger performance and get a much better result? So as always, get your thoughts and questions in and let's get into it. Your opinion matters. Tonight, a really good panel. Firstly, I'm joined by Mark Snowdon. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Definitely a bit more optimistic after the great signings that we made this week. I think they'll prove to be 2 excellent pieces of business. A little bit more optimistic following the game last night, getting some goals, getting some good performances, some players back, and obviously it puts us in good stead leading into the weekend. But I'm not going to lie, I'm still getting over the frustrations of the performance on Saturday. Spend weeks and weeks waiting for the start of the season, then we go and put out a performance like that. So, yeah, lots to get into. Looking forward to it. But as always, thanks very much for having me on, Harry.
No worries. You're welcome anytime. Thank you very, very much. Much appreciated. And Luke, it's fantastic to have you back on Scarfey Spurs Talk. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on, first and foremost. It's good that I missed the Brentford match working, so I didn't get to see the terrible performance. But I had notifications popping up on my phone at the side. It was just it's sort of typical. You sort of expected it to happen. I mean, I didn't want it to happen, but you always at the back of your mind, you thought it would happen. But better performance yesterday. There was some few issues from some of the players, but I thought we played much better. And hopefully we can beat Newcastle. But thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, anytime. You're welcome anytime. Thank you, Luke, very much. I hope you're right. We do beat Newcastle. It can't be any worse. So I keep telling myself, surely. Luke, thank you very, very much. Joseph, it's fantastic to have you back on Scarfey Spurs. So it's been a while. Thank you so much for your time in advance. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Harry. Yeah, I mean, been a bit of an interesting, week, I would say, as a Spurs fan. Obviously, the really poor performance against Brentford, but then a good performance last night against Charlton. So, yeah, obviously it's always crazy in the world of Spurs. So much going on every single day. And he obviously recently was hosting the Premier League podcast here on with Harry. So, please, if you're interested in anything like that, go have a look at that channel as well. But yeah, no, obviously I love talking Spurs. So ready to get into it all and talk with some other Spurs fans.
Great stuff, Joseph. Thank you very much. It's lovely to have you three. And Anthony will be joining us very shortly as well. He's just running that tad bit late. But before we get into it, if you're looking for a place to discuss Tottenham with fellow supporters, you can check out Everything Spurs on Discord, run by a friend of the channel in Wilsey, a community of over 11,000 members with active matchday discussion, transfer news, debates, and football chat every day. If you would like to get involved, you can, and you can find the invite link in our description, or simply head to discord.gg/ComeUSpurs in the web browser. Mark, starting with you, I want to get your thoughts firstly on the team. If we think that before the Charlton game, the team for this game, what was your thinking? Because we saw Sandro Tonali and Marco Senesi not in the matchday squad. We saw Mateus Fernandes in the lineup, along with the likes of Ben Davies, who was captain on the night. What surprised you most about the 11?
I don't think there's any major surprises, to be honest. I think good to get some players obviously back in the squad and on the bench, and I think getting those back on for some minutes was really, really important, especially the ones obviously coming late back from the World Cup, like Porro and Van der Ven. They're such key players for us. Really good to have them on the bench and obviously feature. Other than that, yeah, no massive surprises. I think is probably the right balance in terms of getting some players that need minutes in sort of in a match scenario. Yeah, a little bit surprised with Tonali missing out. I think there could be some sort of fitness issue there, it sounds like, and reading in between the lines on De Zerbi's comments recently about players not quite being match fit. I think there's obviously a bit of a delicate balance this week in terms of who needs a bit of rest and who needs a bit of sort of work off the pitch, and who needs to get some minutes in and some game time in. So I think he probably got that balance right, to be honest. Some good performances, which I'm sure we'll dive into as we go. But yeah, no massive surprises. Good result. I think when the draw came in, we were live previously, weren't we, when we drew Charlton? And we all said that that's a great opportunity. Get some minutes back for some of those players coming back for the World Cup. Get some goals at a home game. Build us a little bit of confidence. Get some of those forwards firing again, which they were after a really dreadful performance from the front three at the weekend against Brentford. So yeah, lots of positives to take from that performance, I think.
Absolutely that, Mark. Thank you very much. Couldn't put it better myself. Luke, coming to you on the first goal, 41st minute. That's when the deadlock was broken by us and by Mikey Moore. The assist was for Rodrigo Bentancur, by the way, for the first goal. What do you make of that? Was it a moment of brilliance from one of our own, Mikey Moore?
Yeah, it definitely was. I think I was a bit frustrated by some of the some of the runs that people were making at the front three at the start of the match. I think there's multiple times where there could have been an overlap with Archie Gray and Mikey Moore that I think could have saw some goals earlier on. But then again, you haven't really got an aerial threat other than Solanke that's in the box, I suppose. But I thought the goal was really good. I was shouting at him to overlap. Obviously, he went in and scored an absolute rocket, and obviously saw on Instagram as well. I think it was with his weak foot as well, which is good. It's a good goal, good for his confidence, and shows Spurs fans and people who doubt him that he is worth staying, and he's a great player, and I think he'll be great for us in the future.
Absolutely that, Luke. Thank you very much. Joseph, coming to you on the second goal, because it is still on Mikey Moore, because he gets an assist for the second goal after he got the goal for the first. So just on Mikey Moore, was this what he needed after Brentford, where it was, of course, a bad day for the team, but he had a lot of opportunities, didn't he? And he couldn't manage to take any of them. Was this the performance that Mikey Moore needed?
Yeah, definitely. The first 30 minutes of the game, just discussing that bit first, because don't get me wrong, it was a great performance from about the 40th minute onwards. But I think for the first 35 minutes, we did really struggle to break them down. I think there wasn't too much creativity. And that's, a little bit of a concern when you don't really have that we don't really have that player with Maddison and Xavi injured. You don't really have those players that can really pick a pass and create an opportunity. But luckily we wore them down. It was a great finish by Mikey Moore on the first one. And although it did kind of go through the keeper's hands, I thought he would be able to get a stronger fist to it and kind of tip it over. But the second goal was quite calamitous defending, I would say, from Charlton. They seemed to just kind of not really be there, not really sure what was going on. And then obviously Solanke with a clinical finish, which was good. But in terms of Mikey Moore, the Brentford result and the performance wasn't great. It felt like every opportunity was falling to him and he just couldn't really take it. And I think what that's probably shown a lot of people is maybe he's just not ready just yet. In those moments in the Premier League, you have to finish them, in those positions. And that's what we need from a forward. So, maybe Mikey Moore can be that long term. I don't know if he's going to be that right this moment. And obviously, I think that's why Sávio's come in. I think that's why obviously Marmoush has come in and maybe one more winger. And maybe Mikey Moore can kind of, come off the bench and be that impact player for the rest of this season. And then hopefully we see where he goes long term. But again, it was good to see him do well in this game. And again, he does seem to get into a lot of space, and it's just about him making the right decision when he gets there. So yeah, it was pleasing to see. I still don't think he's ready just yet to be a mainstay in the Premier League or to be ready to really lead Tottenham forward, but it's promising signs, and hopefully we see more of that either this season or going into next season if he was to go on loan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is still expected to. And Joseph, just sticking with you for the second on that second goal, clinical finish by Dom Solanke, and how crucial is it that Solanke stays fit this season?
Oh, 100%. Let's be honest, I don't think any of us truly believe Richarlison should be the number 9 for Tottenham anymore. He shouldn't really be at the club, really. The fact is he's here because we don't have any other number 9s. And, we saw him against Brentford. He just couldn't stand it physically, could not keep up with the game at all. And Solanke, he showed it against Charlton, although maybe lesser opponents. He was physically there. He was battling with the defenders and he was kind of holding up the ball very well. But also when he does get in that moment where he can finish, we saw him do that with aplomb. And that's something that we need to see more of because we know he can do it. He did it at Bournemouth, sorry. And, I feel like he could be a really big player for us, a real number 9, because still, even with the Marmoush signing, you don't really have a natural target man number 9 in the squad other than him. So it's so important that he stays fit. And it was good to see him finally kind of back in the starting 11 playing better. Because I thought towards the end of last season, he was very inconsistent. He didn't really seem up for the fight that we were in. So I'm hoping that this season he can kind of prove us wrong a little bit and show us that he is the £60 million man that we bought.
Hopefully so. Joseph, thank you very, very much. And that was the first half. And we'll take a halftime pause to introduce Anthony to this episode. Anthony, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Apologies for my lateness. Just developing the future of, women's football. So, yeah, apologies for that.
No worries. And also apologies for me. I've just seen your message saying, look, yes, Harry, check your messages a bit like that. Bit pointless at this point, but thank you so much for joining us. To throw you into the deep end then, moving on to the second half, Tottenham's third goal was scored by Kevin Danso. It's fair to say it was a better impact from Kevin Danso than his last one, which was the 3 minutes that he played in pre-season where he come on against Chelsea and got sent off.
Yeah, definitely a much better impact. This is what we want. We want to be able to get players on the pitch, have more competition for places. This is what it's about. Obviously, this next upcoming season, it's about Tottenham just finding their way and stuff like that. And Danzo came on was on yesterday, got the goal, boost for his confidence. And again, I do expect there to be a competition for places moving forward. So yeah, it was positive.
Absolutely. I agree with you. We've got a lot more strength and depth as well in that centre-back position. Just before Kevin Danso scored then, of course, he come on for Bentancur, Porro come on for a doggy, and also Van der Ven come on for Van Hecke. So the first time that we got to see Mickey Van der Ven as Tottenham captain. We won't focus on Charlton's changes. But then just after that third goal, Sávio come on for Solanke. That was huge. And then Luca Williams-Barnett for Tell. We're going to get into it, but just briefly, Mark, for now, how nice was it to see, ultimately a front three consisting of Sávio, consisting of Luca Williams-Barnett. I just felt like it's what Spurs fans have been calling out for. Add Mikey Moore to that to complete the front three. It was nice to see, wasn't it? Even if it be just for a short period of time.
Yeah, I think there wasn't a more perfect game for Sávio to come into. Still seems weird calling him Sávio rather than Sávio. But yeah, couldn't have been a more perfect game for him to come into. Carabao Cup at home. Good opportunity to score, and he done exactly that. It's really, really refreshing to see that kind of player that we've been crying out for a good couple of years now, probably since the likes of Harry Kane left, that can take the ball and pick the ball up, take on a couple of players at the edge of the box and just get a shot off and score. We've lacked that so much over the last couple of seasons, because I don't think we've quite got that ability with the likes of Odebear, Tell. Solanke isn't that kind of player. He's more sort of feeds off scraps and gets on the end of set pieces. Richarlison's a little bit similar, but also inconsistent. So for me, just really, really refreshing to see that kind of player that we've been crying out for. When you think of Tottenham forwards, you think of players that can do that. The likes of Son, Kane, Defoe, Keane, Bale. We've been crying out for that kind of player, hence why our goal scoring hasn't been great over the last couple of seasons. So really, really pleased for Sávio. Took his goal really well. It's a great strike from the edge of the box. I was almost sort of hoping we'd do the same with Marmoush and get that deal over the line in time for him to come and play that game. Because again, it's a great opportunity to hit the ground running, get the Spurs fans on your side, and get a goal under your belt and get playing again. So, but hopefully that might happen at the weekend with Marmoush. But yeah, really pleased for him. He looked lively when he came on, didn't he? Not just the goal that he scored, but probably unlucky not to have claimed the second one as well. Which deflected off Ben Davies. But yeah, no, really, really pleased that he's an exciting player, really exciting player. And I think it's probably a missing piece of the puzzle that we've been crying out for quite some time now.
Absolutely that, Mark. Thank you very, very much. Huge signing. And we'll get on to Marmoush as well. We're talking of huge signing. Absolutely. Marmoush is in that category also. Mark, thank you very much. Luke, coming to you, because as Mark rightly says, Sávio with the instant impact in the 82nd minute to get his goal assisted by Gray. Then in the 85th minute, it was awarded to Ben Davies, and Savio's been awarded the assist. For me, that is Savio's goal. So some would say it's a brace, but technically it's gone down as a goal and an assist. I mean, what an impact, hey, from the new signing.
Yeah.
That's what you want in front of your own fans.
Yeah, it's perfect. Exactly what you want for your debut as well. Especially after, not having, the brightest of seasons and career at Man City. It's good to have your first Spurs game, and get a goal and assist. That's perfect. Perfect start. It's good that it was a home game as well, and it was a nice game for him to settle into. Nice introduction. And you could see Ben Davies telling him that it was his goal, and him faking getting angry, just a little bit of a banter between some of the team. It's good that they got along like that. I think it was a great performance from him. So yeah, it's like just a fresh pair of legs that we've not had before. That someone who can run at the man, be more creative, and just have that more threat towards attacking, which I think we've needed for a long time towards even the start of last season for a long time. So I think it's good to have someone like that. And hopefully Sávio and Marmoush can have that link as well as a left winger as well to see how they pair together. But I think it was a good performance for him. So yeah, it's good positive things for Saturday.
Great start indeed for Sávio. Long may it continue, Luke. Thank you very much. Before we move on from Sávio, Joseph, do you believe that Sávio can kind of unlock a new level? And is Roberto De Zerbi that guy to unlock that next level? I mean, the early signs look good. I'm sure there's been little to no coaching because ultimately he was signed just before the game, but it's promising signs at the start. I mean, do you think he can take it to that next level this season? De Zerbi's been open, hasn't he, about improving his finishing? I mean, I think he kind of proved a point in this game. Can we see more of this from Sávio?
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, he's clearly a player that the club have wanted for a while, not just De Zerbi. Obviously, he was linked to Spurs before De Zerbi was even in the door. So it's a player that Spurs have looked at for a while, and I can see why. I mean, his one-on-one ability is so frightening, and it's something that we don't really have other than Kudus in the squad. You'd say maybe Tell, but having Kudus on one wing possibly and Sávio on the other, that's got to be scary for Premier League fullbacks. I think the one thing we need to see is how it does translate to the Premier League. Again, as much as it was great to see last night, it was kind of Charlton's B team, and we've got to see what he can do against real Premier League physical players. The one thing as well, he's very slight. He isn't. There was a couple of times where he was kind of knocked off the ball by a bigger man, and you're going to get a lot more of that in the Premier League. So, yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, it's a big fee that we bought him for. I think it comes with a lot of expectation, and we hope he can live up to it. I guess the one thing, we were worried about was his finishing, was his ability around the box. Is he going to make the final pass? Is he going to be able to put the ball in the net? And he did that really well last night. I mean, it was a great finish across, looking like he might go across the goal and then going near post was really impressive. And it's something that will work in the Premier League too. So I've got so much, I've got high hopes, and I'm really happy with the signing, but we've got a lot to see of what he can do, and hopefully he can kind of become a bit of a cult hero at Tottenham, because I don't see, that position is there for him to take if he wants it. The forward line last year was absolutely dreadful, and he can really become the talisman, one of the talisman for Spurs if he takes the opportunity. So we'll see how he goes, but it was a good start, and we need to carry on, and hopefully he can make an impact as well against Newcastle on the weekend.
Fingers crossed, Joseph. I think you put that really well. Thank you very, very much. Before we get the full-time thoughts for the Charlton game, Anthony, can I come to you? I'm interested to get your thoughts, particularly looking at it from your expertise in terms of the coaching perspective. So conceding 2 minutes after we got that fifth goal and ultimately not keeping that clean sheet, so conceding the 87th minute from a set piece. Is that disappointing? Of course, the overall matter is that we won and it was comfortable, etc. And do put it down to a lack of concentration, the fact we concede there from the set piece.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because obviously I guess different managers, coaches will see it in different ways. But for me, it's a massive confidence boost for the team, getting a win under their belt. New squad put together. So obviously we want confidence to be high. But is that slight bit of lack of concentration towards the end there. You know, once we've gone and said, yeah, we've basically got the win. So I think we need to, you know, we need to still focus. If we want to push as far as we can throughout the season, we need to make sure we're concentrating, because against Premier League teams, we could be a situation of being 2-1 up, and that could be the difference of, you know, earning 1 point or 3 points, etc. So we need to make sure we're focusing. Again, like I've said, it is a new team built, and obviously there's going to be bumps in the road, 100%. But you know, they're Premier League stars, man. We need to be making sure that we see those games out comfortably, as we did yesterday, but we can't be conceding those little last minute goals and stuff like that. And De Zerbi's going to be making sure that that standard's set. You know, I can imagine in the dressing room afterwards, like, I don't care if we won 5-1, we should have been winning 5-0. That's the standard that he wants to set. And he's only going to rub off on the players, and we'll see better from them as the months and weeks go on.
Let's hope so, indeed. I think you're right on that, Anthony. Thank you very, very much. You could see the experienced players' reaction, like, you know, particularly Ben Davies, but also Van der Ven. They were fuming to concede that goal, and I think that's, you want them to be fuming, to realise actually, look, clean sheets matter, and to see us be more defensive. That would be huge if we can improve defensively. Because you're right, sometimes like you could be 2-3-0 up in a game, and all of a sudden that can go in the blink of an eye if you're not careful. So you have to have the right mentality and attitude. I think there's a big part of it, isn't it? When you play a lesser team, if you like, a non-Premier League side in the cup, keep that strong mentality. But Mark, coming to you, of course, beating Charlton 5-1 in the end, would you say that was important, that, you know, game, that win ultimately for confidence? And, you know, in your eyes, was it that kind of calm, confident and quite easy win in the end?
Yeah, I thought it was important, especially after the Brentford game, as I say, to get some players back playing minutes and get some goals under our belt. Give the fans something to be a little bit more cheerful about. So I thought it was really important. But to me, it felt a little bit like a pre-season friendly, really, didn't it? It had that kind of atmosphere about it, and that kind of bit of a sort of training game sort of feel to it as well. So yeah, I can't get carried away. I mean, it was Charlton at the end of the day. We were more than expected to win that game. And if you're going to spend 400 million and you can't beat Charlton at home, there's a massive problem there. So yeah, expected the win is important. I think I'm hoping that gives us a little bit more confidence going into the weekend. Start seeing the players playing a bit more together, and building some of those relationships on the pitch is going to be really, really important. And I think we really struggled with that at Brentford. We looked like a team that had only just met each other 10 minutes before kickoff in the car park. It was that kind of feel to it. So yeah, good to sort of get a home win, get the crowd behind us, get a little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence. As I said, really important debut for Sávio, and get a goal under his belt. That'll do him the world of good. And yeah, get some of those players back playing again after a long summer in the World Cup.
Absolutely that, and Tottenham's getting the job done either way, whatever way you look at it, but in style and with some confidence in the end. Mark, thank you very, very much. For those that do love some stats in terms of the Charlton game, Tottenham having, as you would expect, lion's share of possession, 73% of the ball to be exact, Charlton 27%. Tottenham had 20 shots to Charlton's 6, and shots inside the box, Tottenham having 14, which is very high if you look at any games at Tottenham previously last season, even against this kind of level of opposition, and Charlton having 5. So just a few stats there. And as you know, Joseph, I believe, rightly alluded to earlier, it was, you know, Charlton's reserve. They made 10 changes from their win over West Ham. Talking to Joseph, I'm going to come to you, Joseph. So Liverpool, we've been drawn with away, so at Anfield in the third round. What is your reaction to that? I mean, I don't know about you, but I hear that and think, it's tough. But De Zerbi's like, that's what we want. You know, we want to face the bigger teams, because you have to be the best, to win the competition, you have to beat the best. And if you get it done early out the way, it is simply out of the way. So I want to know your live thoughts on that, and also De Zerbi's kind of attitude, positive attitude and mentality towards it.
I love his attitude towards it. I think that's exactly what we need. Personally, yeah, I don't think it's ideal. I would have, have an easier game. If you can, you want to get through the 4th, 5th round playing against teams that aren't as good. So yeah, wait, because eventually you are going to have to play a Liverpool or a City or an Arsenal. Eventually you will have to, you will, because they're going to probably get far in the tournament too. So yeah, ideally you wouldn't play it, but yeah, obviously it is how it goes. It feels like we do sometimes get that tough draw early on. It does feel like it happens every year. We get a tough draw early on. But he is right. We've got to go there and give it our all. Liverpool aren't exactly settled, the same as us. They're not in the best place right now, and the game is, you know, only a couple of weeks away. So it's not like they're going to have everything figured out by then either. So there's no reason why we can't go there and give it a go. You know, it is a good test for us because we do need to kind of get acclimatized to these type of tactics. We need the players to get used to it. And yeah, we'll have to field somewhat of a strong side because you imagine Liverpool will do the same. So yeah, it is what it is. You know, you've got to just play what's in front of you, and it will be tough. We know it will, and maybe we'll end up going out, but you never know. We've got to go out there and try our best. Obviously, Anfield has always been a tricky place for us to go, and especially in recent years. So yeah, I'm not going to say I'll go into it with loads of confidence, but the main thing is that De Zerbi's confident and the players are confident they can do something against Liverpool. So we'll see how it goes, but for now, we'll take Charlton as it is, and we've got to carry on with these next Premier League games because, you know, right now it's a pretty much game a week other than these Carabao Cup and FA Cup games when we come to them. So it's about making the most of every game, every 90 minutes that we play.
Absolutely. You can only be what's in front of you, and Tottenham's certainly done that about 24 hours ago. Joseph, thank you very much. Luke, what are your thoughts on that draw? Do you look at it like kind of, I don't know, kind of plainly and go, oh no, you know, it's this huge side in Liverpool away from home, Liverpool away at Anfield, or do you look at it and go, yeah, do you know what, this is not Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, and maybe they are gettable at this stage?
Yeah, I think it is quite difficult. I think it's quite harsh. I mean, there's not much you can do about it. It's just the draw we've been given. As Joseph said, we've been hard done by in recent years by early draws with difficult teams. I think we'll struggle. I don't know how the game will, you know, pan out because it's two sides that are going under, you know, different new managers, new play styles, obviously different to what they've been playing last season. So I think it will be a difficult match, and hopefully we can do well. But I do think we'll struggle. I think it's just about who shows up on that night. I think we need, you know, the Liverpool home support is probably one of the best in the league. So I think it will be quite difficult to come against, especially in Anfield. So I think we just have to play football the way that you know they know how to do, the way they've been training, not the way that they've been playing at Brentford. So if we can enhance the performance that we played yesterday against a harder team, and I think we'll have a better chance at, you know, going through. And as you said, if you get them out of the way first, then it'll be possibly easier when you go, you know, further. So hopefully we can win, but I think it will be difficult. But I think we'll be able to do it if we focus.
Okay, Luke, thank you very much. Mark, coming to you. I've seen a lot of Spurs fans across social media feel quite excited by this because they look at Sávio and Marmoush, of course, both now come in and go, do you know what? If Liverpool start Kerkez and Frimpong, that they are gettable, particularly as we've improved our attack and, you know, they're seen as weak defensively. Does that give you a little bit of excitement if we just focus on that area of the pitch?
Yeah, I think we were just destined to draw that, weren't we? Liverpool away. I mean, you couldn't have got a tougher draw than that, to be fair. And we seem to always get these draws, don't we? Whether it's Liverpool or someone like Chelsea or the big clubs away. It's really, really difficult. But yeah, it's not impossible, is it? I mean, one good thing, I've not checked the dates, but I'm pretty sure the Champions League games probably start around the similar time to the Carabao Cup next round. So maybe there might be a bit of good fortune in terms of the fact that Iraola might want to concentrate on the Champions League and getting off to a really good start. So would prioritise that over the Carabao Cup. But we all know how important silverware is to the big clubs. So, you know, that might work in our favour, it might not. But yeah, we just got to go there and go for it. I think we said previously about how important cup runs are domestically for us this season. We're obviously not going to be challenging in Europe. We're not going to be challenging for the league, that's for sure. So I think getting a good cup run together in the FA Cup and Carabao Cup is massively important for us. So I'm sure De Zerbi's going to go to that game. He's going to want to win. He's probably going to put out a really strong team. We were really unlucky against Liverpool last season in the Carabao Cup. Sort of almost pushed them all the way, really. The second leg being at Anfield was obviously a really difficult place to go and will be a difficult place to go again this season. But yeah, he just had a feeling we were going to pull someone like that. Always seems to be the way. But yeah, no, I think De Zerbi will go for it. And on the night, if we can perform, if we can get some of those attacking players that we're bringing into the side on good form, get them to run at those fullbacks that you mentioned, I think we've got a good chance.
Absolutely, I like the way of looking at that, Mark. Thank you very much. And before we do progress then and move on to transfers and Marmoush, so you're kind of all saying that Tottenham rotten luck with the draws, and you're right. We have had rotten luck when it comes to various draws over the last few years. So I've got it in front of me. So this year got Charlton, as we know, Carabao Cup round 3, then Liverpool away in round 4. But if you go to the last season, 25-26, it was Aston Villa at home in the FA Cup third round. It was Newcastle away in the fourth round of the Carabao Cup. Doncaster Rovers at home in the third, to be fair. But 24-25, Villa away, FA Cup round 4, Tamworth away in round 3. Then Liverpool, as you rightly mentioned. But in that, in both competitions, United, City, Coventry, then 23-24, City, Fulham and Burnley. So there's a recurring theme there. Pretty much every year is a top Premier League side away from home. And the only surprise for me in this draw that it wasn't Fulham. They seem to come up quite a lot. But on to Omar Marmoush. He signed today, new Tottenham Hotspur player, and he'll wear the number 22 shirt, of course, previously worn by Brennan Johnson. Anthony, what's your reaction to this signing? Omar Marmoush is a lily white. How's it feel?
Feels great. I can't lie. It feels great, honestly. Yeah, it's good. It's good to finish the window in such a strong way. Marmoush, I think he's definitely massively going to add to our attack. In terms of what De Zerbi, what it appears that he's trying to build is just an affluent attack. And the best way to sort of look at it, I look at PSG. You know, they haven't got an out-and-out number 9. I don't see Marmoush as necessarily an out-and-out number 9, but I think with the likes of Sávio, Marmoush, obviously, if you get Gakpo over the line, Solanke, I think that forward line is going to be very interchangeable in terms of how they move and how they attack. So I'm definitely happy with this signing. I think he's going to be eager to go out and impress, and hopefully he can, bring out that form of his, the earlier months when he first started at Man City and when he was at Frankfurt. Mido's been on Twitter for years saying that we should have been looking at Marmoush, and finally, the Egyptian prince, we finally listened to him, and I think we need to, make sure that we listen to any future scouting suggestions that he potentially has. But I'm happy with Marmoush. And yeah, look forward to hopefully seeing him on Saturday if he does play.
Hopefully so. Well, I can confirm, based on what has been said and what is out there in the public domain, that he is available because it's an initial loan. So that kind of work permit, the visa just carries over. So it's absolutely fine. For those unaware of the deal, it seems to be a season-long loan with a mandatory obligation at the end of it. And Omar Marmoush today has spoken about joining Tottenham, saying it feels amazing to be here. I'm so excited to get started with the team and I can't wait to meet the fans. Going on to say Tottenham Hotspur is one of the biggest clubs in England, if not the world, and the project was very attractive to me. I've spoken with the head coach. I love what we have to say, and I'm sure that our passion for the game will go well together. And De Zerbi's also spoken about the signing of Marmoush, saying that Omar is exactly the kind of player we want at this club, ambitious, hungry and determined to make a difference. He has incredible attacking quality, but I also love his desire to improve and to win. He brings pace, intelligence and a real threat in front of goal, and I believe he can take our attacking play to another level. So those are the words, firstly, of Omar Marmoush and then Roberto De Zerbi. Mark, returning to you, focusing on De Zerbi's comments. I mean, he speaks very highly, doesn't he, of Marmoush? Do you think that ultimately De Zerbi can reach, again, with the same as Sávio, really? It's the same kind of question. Can he unlock him in terms of getting to a new level? Of course, at City, Marmoush played very little minutes. And I spoke to a City fan today, part of the biggest City podcast actually in Europe. And he said to me that he thinks it's not a case of unlocking a new level in Marmoush, but it's simply giving him the minutes that Man City couldn't because Haaland blocked those minutes for the likes of Marmoush. Would you agree with him?
Yeah, 100% agree. I'm really, really excited by this signing, by the way. Really excited. I think it's an excellent piece of business. I'm actually quite surprised we got it over the line quite sort of swiftly and on the sort of terms that we have done. I think he's an excellent player. I think we've only seen glimpses of what he can do at Man City because of the fact that his minutes have been so restricted. I think when you look at the patches where Haaland did have some time on the sideline where he was injured, Marmoush was easily able to step in, score the goals that Haaland would have scored before obviously being stuck on the bench again. So I think it's an excellent move for the club. I think it's a really good move for him as well. He needs to be playing regularly. I think he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet for Spurs in that centre-forward position ahead of Solanke. Charlton, I think, will probably leave, and this probably triggers that to happen. So I'm really, really excited. He's the kind of player that will shoot on sight. And I think we've seen that at Man City, and again, similar to Sávio, the kind of player that Spurs have been crying out for, that will get shots off, that will take people on, that will shoot from outside the box. We've really lacked that over the last couple of years in terms of players taking pot shots and trying their luck, no matter where they are on the pitch. He's the kind of player to take that on. I think if he can hit the ground running at Tottenham, start with some goals under his belt in the first few games that he plays, this is really, really exciting. And if we can get one more attacking option into the squad, if we do manage to secure Gakpo, this is a phenomenal window for Tottenham. And I'm really, really pleased. 2 massive signings this week, massive signings, because we've been crying out for attackers like this.
Huge. 2 attackers in the space of a week. I mean, times like this, they go around a lot, and it feels very good. You're right. Money spent in 4 positions, quality bought in. So very, very serious intent from Tottenham in the window. And with it confirmed that Omar Marmoush will take the number 22 shirt, here are just some of the previous players who have worn it for Tottenham. Let's zoom in on the last 6. So Conor Gallagher in 2026, Brennan Johnson, who wore it for 3 years between 2023 and 2026, Pierluigi Golini, remember him from 2021 to 2022. Then also talking of goalkeepers, Paulo Gazzaniga wore that number, as easy to forget actually now, to 2017 to 2021. Before that was Nazar Chadli for 2 years, 2014 to 2016, then Gylfi Sigurdsson from 2012 to 2014. But if we go back a little bit, it goes back to Tom Huddleston and Robbie Keane to wear the 22 shirt. Joseph, can I get your reaction to Omar Marmoush joining Tottenham? How does it feel?
Yeah, no, I echo everything that Mark said. I mean, it's a really exciting signing, like really exciting one that I feel will push us over the edge somewhat. Like, it'll be interesting to see how De Zerbi's going to utilise him. Obviously, he's not a typical number 9 like what Solanke is, but he's definitely someone who can play as a striker. I loved his game when he was at Frankfurt. I was really jealous when Manchester City got him and really wanted him at Spurs. And now we've got him. I'm so excited to see what he can do. If you just look at his goal catalogue, there's so much to be excited about. Some of the goals he's scored are so impressive. And I'm trying to think the last player who could score goals like that for us. I think it was probably Son, the kind of way he could just pick the ball up on the edge of the box and put it top corner. And that's something that Marmoush can do. And now we haven't seen enough of that at Tottenham. We have to kind of get into the box and get the ball, pass it into the net almost. Whereas Marmoush, sometimes when you need it, when you're not playing well, he can just take the ball and put it in the net. And that's what we've needed for a while. So, yeah, I'm so excited to see what he can do. I agree with Mark in the sense as well that I think we still probably needed one more attacker. But it's good to see that we've really reinforced this forward line, because obviously going into the season, it was going to be a similar front line to what we had last year. And that was very worrying. To see these 2 players from City come in is really, a bit of a relief, but also it's good to see that these 2, I mean, they were good enough to play for Man City. It's just how good the players were in front of them in terms of Haaland, Cherki, Doku. It was hard for them to get minutes, and now they're going to get those minutes at Spurs. So, yeah, so excited for it. And hopefully he'll be our new... I think he'll probably end up being our new number 9, really. I think he'll be the striker most weeks. But it's still good that you've now got a duo of him and Solanke that you feel like you can trust both of them to play minutes when they need to. So, yeah, over the moon with it. And I think the deal itself is a really good one. The fact that we've got him on loan with an obligation, I don't know if financially it helps Spurs if we were to try and go get Gakpo or somebody else before the window shuts. Maybe it frees up that money, the fact that we've pushed this Marmoush, financials of that deal to the end of the year. Maybe it helps Tottenham do a bit more business this summer. So, yeah, all of it is great, and I'm just so happy to see him in a Spurs shirt.
Joseph, thank you very, very much. Can I stick with you if you don't mind? Because a comment really interests me today, and it's going to be out tomorrow. I'm going to give it a lot of it away. There'll be no point watching it in a minute. But it's the last thing I will give away when I sat down with him, typical Harry. But he said that for him, Sam from the American Citizen and also 23 podcast said that if I was a Tottenham fan, I'd expect 15 goals from Marmoush in the Premier League this year. What do you make of that? Do you think that is achievable?
I think it's achievable. I don't like putting these kind of goal expectations, specific output expectations on players, because, like, if I'm being honest, thinking of Sávio, his output hasn't been great. And we want to see more of that. We need to see more of that in a Tottenham shirt. And the problem is last season we had no goals. No one was scoring goals. We were relying on Richarlison to score. So we do need goal outputs from players. But I don't want to put an expectation on them. 100%. 15 goals in this season would be perfect from Marmoush. I take that. Definitely, as long as other players are pitching in too. But I'm not going to put an expectation on him. I just want to see. I want to see competent forward play. It's just something that we didn't have last season. There was no real link up, no connections being made. Just really poor forward play from all of our attackers. So if Marmoush and Sávio can bring some competence, some attacking threat, and some finishing, then yeah, it'll be great to see. So I'm hoping for 15 goals, maybe upwards. But again, that's not gonna show if he's a good or bad signing. I think we just need to see everything he can do, and hopefully he'll be he'll be the striker that we need.
Absolutely that. Joseph, thank you very much. Just to read out a few comments here. We've got here from Robbie. Wanted Marmoush since his Eintracht Frankfurt days. Great business, Spurs. Absolutely feels like a big signing and great business from Tottenham. Tom says he's buzzing for Marmoush. We've got here, Tom says, I still want an out-and-out 9, Balogun or Mateta for me. Love this from Robbie. Marmoush has all the attributes to overcome his national teammate Mo Salah over a full career. Well, I love the ambition of that. I think that's, as someone says in the comments here, that is a big take, but that's what we like. And I agree, Tom. Omar does look fantastic in white. Robbie says Marmoush will get closer to 20 goals once he's bedded in. I'm all here for it. Fingers crossed. Let's hope so. But before we move on to previewing Newcastle, so Liverpool, here we go, is given for them to sign Bradley Barcola today by Fabrizio Romano. Anthony, could this mean potentially, just potentially, the Cody Gakpo that Liverpool will be willing to let Gakpo leave? Of course, I will mention that City have been rumoured to be in for Gakpo as well, but this means that Gakpo is a possibility that he could leave, and if so, would you be interested in Tottenham going for Gakpo?
That's the thing. I think in terms of Gakpo, if Liverpool have gone and signed a player who's over 100 million and he happens to play my position, I am then going to question, am I going to play? And that's the thing as a club. If you go and you don't sign someone for 100+ million to sit on the bench, you know what I mean? So I think Gakpo has either had conversations or will have conversations, and I think the next few days will be touch and go whether we get him or not. But I think Tottenham's massively going to push for him. I'll be honest, I from my own personal view, I would have loved someone flary a bit more like a Leao, etc. But I can understand why we want Gakpo, because at the end of the day, Gakpo's a finisher. He can bang in goals. He's done it in the Premier League. He can assist. He's proven. And that seems the theme that we've been going with for this past transfer window. So 100%, I want these players. I want it to be done. If we can get Gakpo over the line, I think our attack looks solid. And I think by the time we start to really look at Christmas time and onwards, I think they should really have settled and bedded in. And who knows what is going to be looking like come that sort of point. But yeah, Gakpo for me, I want him in. I want him in the club. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Absolutely. Anthony, thank you very much. Before I come to Joseph on this, Luke, unfortunately, his phone has overheated, so he's had to leave this episode. So we thank him very much for coming on this episode. Good old technology. His phone has overheated, but he'll be back very, very soon. If you wonder why I haven't gone to him for a while, I have no personal grudge, I promise. His phone has overheated. That's why he's not on the panel. I haven't shut him off, and I'm not ignoring him. Absolutely not. No chance. Joseph, I come to you. Cody Gakpo then. How do you feel about this? A, would you want it? And B, do you think Tottenham will get it done?
I think we might get it done. I wasn't sure. And okay, I'm still not 100% sure, because I think Liverpool still need to go get one more after Barcola before they let Gakpo leave. True. And it's whether they're going to be able to get that over the line. Obviously, we saw them go for Minter. That hasn't happened. Brighton are kind of standing firm on their price for him. The same with Ismail Assar. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to leave either Palace, although maybe they can try and get that one over the line, even though there's still got 3 years on his contract. So that one might be tough for them to get. So I think it is going to be dependent on what Liverpool can do. I do think it will be a good signing. I think I've warmed up to the idea of it. I think when we first all saw it, I think a lot of people had question marks about the idea of getting him. I think obviously it's De Zerbi's guy. If De Zerbi really wants him, obviously we will back that. I think all Tottenham fans will respect if it's what he wants. We'll back it. But I think, overall, I think a lot of Spurs fans were looking around Europe and thinking maybe there's some other players that can come in. But when you think about, I mean, even just on the weekend, you saw his finish against Newcastle. It was excellent. You know, getting the ball on the edge of the box and just strike power into the bottom corner. Again, we don't have a lot of that in our team. We don't have finishers. And it's something that we're desperately crying out for. So as much as, yeah, I agree with Anthony, like Rafael Leao would have been really interesting to see how he would have done in the Premier League. We don't know what his output would have been. We don't know if he would have been able to hack it. And Gakpo has proven that he can hack it. You know, his goal outputs, although maybe if you look at it, can be a bit inconsistent. When you look at his goal outputs long term in the Premier League, they've been very impressive. You know, he's scoring around 20 goals. We're getting 20 goals and assists each season since he's been at Liverpool. So I think it would be a good signing for Spurs, a solid one that kind of improves our floor, maybe rather than raising our ceiling. But again, what we need right now is a floor raiser. We need this team to, you know, get out of the 17th place and get back to finishing 6th, moving forward that way. So yeah, I think it will be a smart signing. It's just, again, the fact that these fees, you know, we're looking at probably 80 million for Gakpo is mental, absolutely mental. This is what the finances are looking like in the Premier League right now. But that just might be the market right now anyway.
Absolutely. It's like I made a point on social media today, and it never goes that well. But I think, like, if we just talk about price for a minute, like 85 million for Fernandes, it was sold, wasn't it? As we had our pants pulled down. I think we look back on that and go, that's a bargain. We look at what Labour's gone for United, what Anderson's gone for City. I know it sounds wrong to say like steal or bargain in the same sentence as 85 million, but I think when you look back and the crazy prices, right? I think 85 million isn't bad.
I think it's because it was the first one and everyone was like, what, 85 million for Fernandes? Yeah. And now we're at the end of the transfer window. Everyone was like, well, actually, no, because all these players are going for this fee now. And they're probably not as good as actually what Fernandes can be. So I completely agree with you. That looks like a bit of a steal now somehow.
And don't get me wrong, I'm happy with Santinali, but I think from a business perspective, I think you can justify a lot easier spending 85 on Fernandes. I think potentially maybe his ceiling is also a little bit higher, but that might be a whole different discussion. Mark, on Cody Gakpo, I mean, are we just being greedy at this point, or do you think, come on, we still need to get one more?
Well, I think he's the final piece of the puzzle, isn't he? As far as I'm concerned, I think that takes our transfer window from being 9 out of 10 to 10 out of 10. I mean, if we get Gakpo over the line, if you'd have told us, you know, for sort of 3 or 4 months ago, this is the players that Tottenham are going to sign, you would have fallen off your chair and not believed it. It is going to be big money. It's going to have to be big money. And I think we've had to splash the cash because one, teams know that we've got the money available, so they're going to inflate the prices, and we're going to have to pay big wages as well because that's the only way you're going to attract players to a club that's finished 17th 2 years in a row. So we're almost backed into the corner. But the one good thing is we've got the finances there. And we've also been generating funds as well as we've been going through this window. The outgoings have been just as important and just as spot on as what the incomings have been, in my opinion, for lots of different reasons. So, yeah, for me, it'd be the absolute icing on the cake to get this Cody Gakpo deal done. There's 2 things I think that probably just holds it back a little bit, to be honest. And I know it was mentioned a little while ago, the fact that they probably need one more signing, especially with Ekitike injured. I think obviously had Ekitike been not long-term injured, this would have been an easy one for Gakpo to leave Liverpool. But I have a feeling they're going to want to keep hold of him to at least January unless they can bring someone else in during this transfer window. The other thing that really worried me was the fact that he scored a great goal at the weekend. I mean, if that's a sort of reminder to your manager of what you can do, that's the perfect thing, isn't it? You can do. So as soon as that goal went in, I texted a couple of family members and said, we ain't signing Cody Gakpo. There's no way. He's just scored an absolute screamer against Newcastle. That's just like, it's typical, isn't it? Had he been on the bench or not involved or, not putting a great performance, he'd probably be a little bit more optimistic. But he's definitely sent a reminder of one, he's a good player, but 2, we're going to have to pay a lot of money to get him. But I'd be incredibly excited if we get him over the line. And I think it's probably a really attractive move for the player as well. I mean, again, he comes to Tottenham, could be the main man, getting lots of goals. We've got a really strong Dutch contingency or Netherlands contingency, I should say, with the likes of Sávio, with the likes of Van der Ven, and Van Hecker as well. So I think it's a great move for the player. But goodness me, if we can get this over the line, it's the icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. And what a brilliant window it would be, and a great way to end it as well.
Absolutely, that Mark. I totally agree. You know, I agree with all of you. Thank you very much. Just to read out a few comments, I think Tom's right. Everyone wants to join the Tottenham project. I think De Zerbi being a big factor in that. And his own words, he's a shark when it comes to the transfer window. Robbie says, seems De Zerbi might want Mikey Moore to stay. We might discuss that in a bit. David Clark saying Gakpo isn't guaranteed a starting place if he goes to City. Great point. Going on to say also, so that's not a reason for him going or not going as a winger at Liverpool. I believe he scored 32 goals in 4 seasons. Yeah, absolutely right with that. And Robbie says, will our 10th signing be a backup striker or a backup right back? We are just being greedy, I'm sure, at this point. But Mark, sticking with you on a serious point, why we're all united, rightly so, behind this project, behind Roberto De Zerbi in particular, is it almost down to him now? Of course, allowing plenty of time to get it right. I think that's very important to say. But is it down to him in terms of the especially if you get Cody Gakpo done, in terms of we fully backed you? Do you think that's fair to say that he has been fully backed and kind of the pressure is on him once he's been allowed that time for it to gel?
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely been backed. And I think the important thing is we probably need to be a little bit patient and keep our feet on the ground a little bit, to be fair. One, he's still a relatively new manager, and two, with all these new players coming in, it does take a little bit of time to gel. So I think, and I said previously when we spoke, Harry, that realistically, we've just got to get back in the top half this season. That's got to be the goal, get back in the top half. I mean, if we can challenge for one of those European spaces, brilliant, but we're certainly not going to be challenging for anything, in my opinion, above 6 at this stage. Would be great if we can, but I think we've got to be realistic and we've got to be patient as well. I think us as a fan base at times that have lost patience and been very, very quick to get frustrated at managers. The fact that he's been backed so much, I think, probably tells you that he's going to be at this club for a while. And I think we need that stability, and it's going to be really, really important. But he's been backed like no other manager has been backed at this club in terms of incomings, but also outgoings. And I just want to mention the outgoings as well, because, as I said, they were so important, the outgoings, because every player at this club that's had a question mark next to their name has been moved on. You got Romero had a question mark over his temperament, Basuma a question mark over his quality, Vicario a question mark over his temperament as well. You got Phillips, Lancashire question marks over their quality. Are they good enough to play regularly for Tottenham? Jed Spencer's attitude was questioned a lot as well. The only ones, I think there's probably 2 more that got question marks by their name. One is Pat Matasar in terms of his quality and consistency, and also Richarlison. And I think those 2 players will probably go. But those outgoings have been just as important. We've moved on all of those players that have had a question mark by their name, players that have been in the club 2, 3, 4 years, still not really cemented their space in the side. So I think that's been really, really important and great business. This feels like the complete sort of restructuring of the players and the squad that we've been crying out for years now, isn't it? A proper overhaul of this squad, moving players on that haven't quite been good enough for us. We've got really good money for them as well overall. I think there's probably a couple of question marks over could we got a little bit more for the likes of Romero. But on balance, when you look at what we've got for players like Lancashire and Phillips, actually I think to come out of this financial window in the position that we're in terms of our net spend, I think we got it spot on, absolutely spot on, and it's needed to happen, isn't it? But yeah, really, really pleased. De Zerbi's clearly been influential. He's clearly identified the players that need to move on, and had lots of targets in mind. You've seen him talk about all of these targets before we've signed them, about how good they are and how much he rates them. That's been a consistent theme throughout all of this, and is working with the likes of Van Hecker, who he's worked with before, other players like Sávio that he's really admired in the past, and he's been very vocal about admiring those kind of players. So yeah, this it's been backed, but yeah, important point. We've got to be a little bit patient here as well, and not get on the manager's back. If a couple of months into the season, we're still sort of struggling to gel a little bit. We've just got to be patient and allow the squad to sort of gel over time, and just get behind the manager. Got to get behind this manager now.
Absolutely, you're totally right with that, and also with recent signings in May, you've got a lot of players reunited as well. I think that's really exciting. I mean, also the thought when everybody's back of, and again, it depends. They've all got to be fit and everything's got to be okay. But Kudus, Sávio, Marmoush, all on the pitch together. I think all of a sudden, I mean, it's difficult to have so many attackers. Don't get me wrong. Look at Liverpool. Speak up then. Prime example for that. Maybe flooding the pitch sometimes with too many attackers or attacking players. But it is exciting. I think we can all kind of say that De Zerbi has been backed, but I'm sure he'll get the time for now. Anthony, coming to you before we take a move away from transfers. So, Alistair Gold quote retweeted Will Lancashire scoring for Middlesbrough in the Cup yesterday, saying the one part of Spurs' transfer window that still feels wrong. Great signing for Middlesbrough. So, of course, he's talking about Will Lancashire and saying that he basically doesn't agree with it, really. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with what he said, but I want to know what you think of that. And will we regret selling Will Lancashire, even though some view it as a really good deal and sell-on clause, add-ons, etc., as well as a respectable fee? Do you think there'd be any regret there from Tottenham, as Alistair Gold suggests?
It's part of the cycle. Unfortunately, it's part of the cycle.
Rebuilds involve tough decisions, right? Nobody likes it till you get to them.
This is it, and you have to let some of your youngsters go, let them flourish, let them go and be part of another project which they can almost like call their own. Because the issues, and I think I've said it before, is you go on a loan, you have to impress that manager. You're still trying to impress the manager, your home club, and all that sort of stuff. You move somewhere which is a bit, you can't really necessarily call it home, but sometimes you just need to go cut your ties with a player. We've obviously done the right things in terms of getting image rights and all that sort of stuff, I guess, attached to some of these fees. But sometimes the player needs to go, enjoy their football elsewhere, see how they flourish. And then if in a few years' time, they are consistently flourishing, then, if it's not us, then another big club will come in for them. But it's just part of the cycle, unfortunately. And, the position that Tottenham is currently in terms of, 2 back-to-back 17th place finishes, there was no real room to really put certain youngsters out there, so we needed to get the job done in terms of having a great transfer window, bringing in top quality players to make sure that we can get back to that position where we should be. And sometimes at this moment in time, youngsters are just not part of that. If Will Lancashire was really part of that, don't get me wrong, he done a great job at Oxford. He was at last year, banging goals for a team that was towards the bottom end of the league and stuff. But is he that Premier League striker? That's where we have to be realistic.
That's the thing. He might have found his level, right? He could have found his level up Championship.
No, exactly. And don't get it wrong, we all want to see someone come through our academy and play first team football. Like, it makes us feel really connected to the club. We all want that to happen. We saw it with the likes of Harry Kane, Ryan Mason, Jamie O'Hara, and all these guys. But this current moment, it wasn't the time for it to happen. And don't get it wrong, obviously, Luca Williams-Barnett, he looks like he could be one that ends up featuring. Mikey Moore, if he doesn't necessarily go on loan, he looks like he could be one. But the main thing for us was sorting out the squad that we currently have, making sure that we can get ourselves back to the top. That is the main priority.
Anthony, on that, you mentioned Harry Kane. Do you think that there is a comparison for every other Spurs player that comes through the youth academy, particularly in the striker position? There is that comparison to Harry Kane. Do you think there is that? And if so, is that unfair? And I'm thinking this applies to a lot of players, from kind of Troy Parrott to Will Lancashire to Dane Scarlett. I always feel like, they get told, they're not certainly by Spurs fans anyway, they're not Harry Kane, so we must move on. I just don't think that's fair, personally.
No, it's not fair. And that's the thing. Because Harry Kane was our top youth prospect who came through, before Harry Redknapp, he was on multiple loans, Millwall, Norwich, all sorts of stuff, Leicester, and he didn't look like he was going to progress through. But obviously Harry Redknapp saw something, brought him through, and the world's your oyster kind of thing. But it's unfair to constantly putting that pressure on some of the young players that we've got coming through. Like, you got to live up to Harry Kane standard kind of thing, or you could be the next Harry Kane. We can't consistently keep having that, that done. So, yeah, it is unfair, to be fair.
Okay, Anthony, thank you very much. I know I did say it was the last thing with transfers, but while being on air, we've got some news that's been widely reported, not to do with Tottenham, but I'm going to link it here. So Emi Martinez is expected to go to Chelsea for $7.5 million. That's the reported fee. Joseph, coming to you. I hate to be that guy. I spoke about greed. Yes, this is greedy. I'll hold my hands up. Are Tottenham making a mistake by not challenging Chelsea and signing Emi Martinez? I'm thinking for the short term, a mentor for Anthony Kinski, and instead of saying to Kinski, right, you're the number one, regardless, boom, throw you in the deep end, kind of introduce him gradually? Or do you think Tottenham shouldn't be looking at that or shouldn't be looking at goalkeeper?
It's a tough one. I think the opportunity was there with everything. I don't think anyone was expecting Emi Martinez to be available this summer, but obviously, certain things happen and they got Suzuki in, so you thought maybe Spurs could be in for him. I don't know, like Kinski kind of deserves to be number one after the end of last season. I think he genuinely kept us up. I think if we're being honest, the saves he made towards the end of the season won us so many points, and it would have been a shame for him to lose his space. I think it's one maybe they could look at in January if Kinski is maybe struggling and he can't really, live up to the number one role. Maybe they have to revisit that, but it's difficult. I would have been happy if Martinez came in. As much as I don't like him as a person. He really pisses me off just watching him for Villa and all the antics, everything he's done for Argentina. I think he's also one of those players, when he's at your club, you kind of love him. Because I think of like Diego Costa, Richarlison, for example. I think everyone hates
we have a couple,
yeah, 100% we do. So maybe we would have ended up loving him, but I don't know. It's a tough one. I think that's a perfect signing for Chelsea. I think that was probably the one thing they were truly missing. Maybe one more defender, like an established defender, but the one thing they were truly missing was a goalkeeper. So I think that's a big signing for them. But yeah, maybe we'll feel like we missed out, but I think it's fair to give Kinski a shot and to see how he does. And
You're right.
Hopefully he can live up to it, because again, I think he deserves it. Off of what he did for us at the end of the season, I think he deserves it.
Do you know, I can't disagree with that. I think you're absolutely spot on. Just thought I'd raise it, considering it's $7.5 million. That's it's a really low fee, put it this way. And for however bad Sanchez has been, right, they could probably sell him and make more than that, considering what they paid. And Martinez, in my eyes anyway, even if we put Argentina aside, we put, as you said, the annoyance of him individually aside, he's worth more than the $7.5 million. So I think Chelsea have been very smart and very proactive, if you like. But let's talk Newcastle then. Game week 2, Tottenham Stadium, first Premier League game in front of our fans this season. De Zerbi's number one task, if you ask me, has got to be improving the home form. Mark, returning to you, how do you feel ahead of this game? Newcastle winning 3-2 against West Brom in the Carabao Cup. They drew 2-2 on the opening date against Liverpool. So they're looking strong, they're looking good. How much of it is new manager bounce remains to be seen. But are you confident, particularly with the recent signings since the last game of Sávio and Omar Marmoush?
Just quickly jumping back on the Emi Martinez one.
Of course.
We've already got rid of one hot-headed Argentinian. The last thing we need to do is bring another one in. Look, put all our faith in Kinski. He's got all the ingredients to be a top goalkeeper. And he's so young, he could be our next keeper for the next 10 years. And he's got all of the ingredients. Calm, comes for crosses, good with his feet, really good distribution. Once he gets a bit of Premier League experience under his belt, got no doubt he's going to be a top goalkeeper. Newcastle, I think, is going to be actually a really difficult game, to be honest. And I think a couple of weeks ago, we'd all be saying it might be easy, but I thought they were absolutely brilliant against Liverpool. I thought they were really good on the counter-attack. Langer looked really, really sharp. Really impressed by Asula as well. Thought he was excellent.
He's out of the game, thank goodness.
Yeah, I see he picked up a bit of a knock, and that's probably works in our favour a little bit. I just think Newcastle are probably going to be what Brentford were last season, where you've got a team that have lost their manager, lost their captain, lost some really important midfielders and attacking players, and a manager that's come in, got question marks around him in terms of how good he actually is and how he's going to get on in the Premier League. And I thought Brentford were excellent. They handled it really well last season, were a surprise package. I think Newcastle could potentially do exactly the same, to be honest. They've got some really good players. I think Nico Gonzalez signing for them is a great signing as well. Really, really good signing for them. And I think they're also going to be quite busy over the next week or so, because the fact that they've got money to spend now. They've moved a lot of players on, got big money for some of those players, in the likes of Anthony Gordon, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes. They've got money to spend, so they are going to be busy, I think, over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tricky one. And again, given our performance against Brentford, I can't really sort of take too much from that Charlton game, because yes, it might give us a little bit of confidence, but much sort of less quality opposition. So I'm a little bit worried. I think probably realistically a 2-2 draw, and I think I'd probably take that, to be honest. We just need to get some points on the board, don't we, and get a couple of good performances in, get some of those players back, get our new signings bedded in a little bit. But I do think it's going to be a much harder game than what we thought it was going to be a couple of weeks ago.
You must know what my next question was because you've answered it. That was the score prediction. Love that, Mark. Thank you very, very much. And you're right. And Newcastle signed, the same as us, they signed 8 players and a lot of negative coverage, understandably, of their summer transfer window, losing Anthony Gordon, as you rightly said. Also, as you added in right, they lost both the midfielders, didn't they, Tonali to us, and also Guimaraes to Arsenal. So there's been a lot of focus on that. I can understand that. And that managerial change. There's only so much you can cover in the media, but there's not been a lot. Like, I didn't realise when speaking to Newcastle fans, they signed 8 players. I was like, oh, blimey, I knew you'd signed, half a dozen, but I didn't think it was 8. I had no idea it was that many. Well, thank you very much. Anthony, can I come to you? How are you feeling ahead of the game? Are you confident? Are you a little bit worried? And do you think that we look more like a team? Because as Sávio said, we weren't a team, and we aren't the team yet after the Brentford game. And also, if you can end the score prediction.
You know what? I think with what happened at Brentford, I think it needed to happen just to sort of bring our expectations down. It's not Football Manager where you can just get 11 players and put them out there and, they get a win kind of thing. I think we need to manage our expectations, but I think the players would have learned a lot from that Brentford game. And I think one of the things that I sort of live by as a coach is, you need to earn the right to play. You cannot just expect to be able to go on the pitch and just be able to go, oh, we're going to play our type of football or De Zerbi football or Pep ball. You've got to earn that right. So I think the players are going to look at that Brentford game and go, that can't happen again. Not in that fashion. I think they're going to want to leave games. If they end up losing, they lose, but they're going to lose. They'll be like, well, at least we lost to the better opposition, but they're still going to give a massive fight for it. So I think for me, I'm looking at Saturday's game and I'm going, you know what? I think we could get a 2-1. I think confidence from learned lessons from the Brentford game. I think confidence from the Charlton game, but also with the signings coming in, I think it brings a nice little step into the atmosphere and things like that. So I'm going to say a 2-1 win to Spurs.
Okay, great stuff, Anthony. Thank you very, very much. Joseph, can I get your thoughts going into this game and also your score prediction? And do you think we'll see Sávio and Marmoush from the start, or is that asking for a bit too much early on?
I could see Sávio starting. I doubt Marmoush will. I imagine Solanke probably will. For me, this game, I agree with everything Mark and Anthony have said. I think it's going to be tougher than we maybe first envisaged when we were kind of seeing that as the second game after seeing the amount of players they've lost. But I think I don't know. They looked good against Liverpool. They fought well, and again, obviously I didn't see them against West Brom, but yeah, it's just going to be tough. Every game in the Premier League is going to be tough, and I think for me, the one thing I need to see is a performance, even if it's not a result, a performance that we can see what we're trying to do, the style of football we want to play. Because for me, against Brentford, I saw nothing. I didn't see anything redeemable to even take from the game. I didn't see any kind of style of play we wanted to do. I had no idea what, it felt like last season. It didn't feel like any different from what last season was. So this game, I want to see Tottenham. I want to see the Tottenham that De Zerbi's trying to build. Again, even if that means we get a draw or, even if we lose, if we see the imprints of what he's trying to make on this squad and what we want to see going forward, then I can feel a little bit more confident about what the season will be. But in terms of result, I'll probably go for a 1-1 draw. I don't think we'll win because, again, as much as they're having, they've got a whole new team, new manager, everything like that, it feels like we're kind of in the same boat. So, yeah, I'll go with a draw. But, I'm hopeful that if Sávio can start, I doubt Kudus will be available, but we'll see, Van de Ven and Porro back in the starting lineup. And, we'll see maybe a more to get, the Tottenham team we're hoping to see throughout the season. If we see Fernandes and Tonali maybe, or even Fernandes and Bentancur, just seeing a bit more of a first team rather than that kind of second string Brentford team that we put out against Brentford. Hopefully we'll see a bit better of a performance. So, but I'll go with 1-1. Just hopefully we see something that we can hold on to and can go, that's what we want to do. That's what we want to see for the rest of this season, because that Brentford game was absolutely abysmal from start to finish and we need to see something.
We do need to see something indeed. Joseph, thank you very, very much. I do expect to see new signings from both teams in action. For Newcastle, Nico Gonzalez, as Mark rightly mentions, and Sávio probably will start, but Marmoush, I think it might be asking a little bit too much early on. Although he's available for the game, that's a definite. Unless he picks up an injury in training, you never know with Tottenham. To be fair, we seem to pick up more injuries in training than anything else. But hopefully, both are okay to start the game. We've got some good news coming out tonight. SFY exclusive, and other in the news next day, and that Mohamed Kudus was seen in training today. So further signs that he's close to return. My only concern will be I don't turn this into a negative to end, but Kulusevski, I thought he was returning to training. I haven't seen him in anything training recently, the last week or two. I haven't seen any videos, any pictures. So hopefully
I would like to say one thing, and I'm interested to hear the others' opinion on this, because I'm concerned about the number 10 position in general at Spurs. I think when Xavi's fit, he'll be starting. Maddison seems to consistently pick up injuries, and that's a problem at 29 years old. And right now, I don't trust Conor Gallagher or Bergvall to be the number 10 in a Premier League team. For me, it's probably one of the most important positions on the pitch, and you need somebody who can really dictate the game, who can kind of create a chance out of nothing sometimes, especially with how good the Premier League defenders are. Sometimes you need that person to unlock the game. Like we had it with Eriksen, we had it with these players. And right now, the two players that we probably would say are injured. Xavi's probably not going to be available for another 4 or 5 months, you'd imagine. And Maddison, again, as much as I love Maddison and when he's fit, I want to see him play, he seems to keep on getting injured. I know it was the ACL, but this another thing, and he had other injuries before that. It wasn't just this ACL injury. He had a couple of injuries previously. So it's a position I'm a bit worried about. I'm not saying that Tottenham can go and buy somebody now for it, but I'm interested to know what people think about it, because I feel like that's a position we really need to look at addressing at some point, because I think it's so integral to the way that you need to play in the Premier League. You need somebody who can truly kind of get the game going. And so far, if it's not down the wings, we don't have somebody who can create anything through the middle, in my opinion. Maybe you could say Fernandes if you push him forward. But right now, if Fernandes is going to be deeper with Tonali, I'm a bit concerned about that position. I'm interested to know what other people think.
Just firstly, Joseph, I agree with you. But by the same token, if Kudus can stay fit, I think he's a big candidate, or maybe the leading candidate to play the 10 role. Considering,
do you think Kudus is I mean, don't get me wrong. I really like Kudus. I know he played there for West Ham in points. I don't see him as that player who unlocks a part, with a pass, something like that. I do see him as a winger. I always have seen him as a winger. I think his best attribute is his one-on-one attacking and what he can do. Maybe I haven't seen him enough to see what he can do.
In that case, Joseph, what about Matheus Fernandes in the 10? You're right in terms of, not ideal. It's not Maddison, it's not Sávio, but putting Fernandes in that 10 and then you have, Bentancur and Tonali behind.
I think that would be our best option right now. I think Conor Gallagher was such a bad purchase. I don't know why we did it. Looking at it now, I don't see long-term his position at Spurs already, with the midfield signings we've made. I don't see what he would bring other than legs. But in the Premier League, that should be a minimum. That should be the given from players in the Premier League. So, yeah, I don't know. It just concerns me because I don't think Bergvall is that player either. And at the moment, right now, if it's not Fernandes, which I don't know if De Zerbi will play him there or not, it's going to be Bergvall or Conor Gallagher. And I just think that's a big problem. I don't think either of them are good enough to be a 10 in a Premier League side.
You make a very good point. And before we come to the comments and before we end, let's ask Mark and Anthony what they think. Mark, starting with you, what do you make of the point that Joseph raised? Any concern at all about the number 10 position? Because Joseph, as he speaks, is technically right? Xavi is currently out, Maddison currently out, Kudus is currently out, although Maddison's not going to be very long, about a week or two, and Kudus is very, very close to coming back. Still, technically, number 10 was short in that position as of today.
Yeah, it is a concern because it simply didn't work with Conor Gallagher playing in that position. I don't think that's his best position. I think you'll probably see him having a bit more of a rotation between Fernandes and Bentancur in the middle. So they look much better in the second half in that central midfield position. It is a bit of a worry. I don't think anyone obviously expected Maddison to pick up another injury, a separate injury. Hopefully, I don't think he'll be out for very long. It seems like a couple of weeks with the shoulder injury, and he's easing back in anyway with his ACL injury last season. But at the moment, it's almost a case of needs must, isn't it? I think we're probably going to see Bergvall play there for a good couple of games now. And eventually, as Kudus is fit, I think he'll slot nicely into that that number 10. I don't think that's his favourite position. I certainly agree with Joseph. He's a winger. I think you've got Kudus on the right with Sávio on the left. I think that's a really, really exciting and brings a whole new dynamic in terms of how we can get at teams and get out fullbacks and get crosses into the box or shots off. So I certainly want to see Kudus play on the right. But I just think where we are at the moment with Sávio injured, Maddison injured, I think he'll slot in there when he's available. But in the meantime, it's going to have to be Bergvall. I think Bergvall's capable of doing it. I think he's putting some really good performances in that position in Europe last season. I've had a slight question mark over him over the last couple of weeks. I think there was a comment a few weeks ago questioning whether he wants to stay and fight for a place at Tottenham, whether he wants to go out and play more regular game time elsewhere. And I think I can understand that. He wasn't open to a loan move by the sound of it. If we can maybe bring someone like Kudus and Maddison back in before the transfer window ends, I think you could possibly see Bergvall leave. But I don't think we're going to sign another number 10. I just think we're going to have to just be patient until we get Maddison and Sávio back fit and firing again. And in the meantime, Kudus might just have to fill in there once he's back playing. I don't think he's far off of that, luckily. But yeah, it is a bit of a concern because it wasn't right, was it, at the weekend having Conor Gallagher play in that position. Just didn't quite feel right. Obviously hooked at half time. That kind of says it all, really. I still think De Zerbi sees a lot in Conor Gallagher and likes Conor Gallagher. He's been very complimentary of him, not just the work that he does on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. And I think he'll go on to be a really good player for us, but not in the number 10 position.
I do think it's a kind of recurring thing that managers do like those that particularly work hard. And I think that's one thing you can say about Gallagher. Like, the ball's over there, you know he's going to chase it down, you know he's going to give it everything to get there. And I think De Zerbi likes that. And I suppose it offers you reassurance when you're going for a transition that someone's going to give it the all. I think a lot of it is that. But you're right, I think Gallagher will play maybe more than most Spurs fans would want this season. And in fact, maybe a lot more, significantly more. But Mark, thank you very much. Anthony, what are your thoughts? Any concerns on the number 10 position? Or do you look at the Tonali's and Fernandez of this world, or the Sávios and Marmoush on the flank or in the 9, wherever they play, and look at the likes of them for creativity?
I think from my perspective, I think there's going to be a lot of rotation with the number 10. And what I mean by that is I think there's going to be some games where we'll have Gallagher because, you know, we probably need a team that's going to be a bit more pressing. Gallagher will lead that press. There'll be games where we'll have the likes of Kudus because he can drive, you know, instead of being able to play that sort of key pass through, he might be able to drive through defenses. And I think there'll be other games, obviously, hopefully, when the likes of, obviously, you know, Kulusevski, Maddison, Sávio, they obviously get back into the game. Those ones who can obviously break those breaking passes, we'll have them back. And I think it's going to be a mixture of different things. Obviously, Omar Marmoush, he's obviously just come in. He can obviously play 10, but he'll be probably more of a second striker. I think that's what De Zerbi is obviously trying to really work towards. But I think that 10 position, I don't see us going out and buying a player for that position, but I think we're just going to see a lot of chopping and changing. Conor Gallagher, I like him. I really do. I like what he's done at, you know, when he's coming through the ranks at Chelsea, what he did at Palace. Number 10 is just not his real thing. I think he needs to be playing 6 or the 8. That's his position. That's where we're going to get the best out of him. And obviously he's going to have to battle with the likes of, you know, Fernandez and Tonali for that. But in terms of Fernandez, I think Fernandez potentially could play as the 10. I don't think he'll play as an out-and-out 10. I think we could end up having, instead of playing a 4-2-3-1, it'll be more of a 4-3-3. And he could be like a late runner with the rotations, getting in there and making those, you know, those distributing passes and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of sort of see things going. But beggars can't be choosers right now. We can't be too greedy. We've had a great window. Honestly. I'm loving it.
Definitely. It's just me. I think it's just me. I miss Eriksen. I miss players like that. I miss like Van der Vaart, like a player who just is there to create, and that's his role. And right now, other than Sávio, we don't have it really. It's just the injuries are the problem. If Sávio and Maddison are fit,
but because he's down,
it's
so difficult. 20 years
it's
back
just
now.
it's just what we got to deal with. But I don't know. I just get a bit concerned right now with them two being that player, because I don't think they're very good at finding that pass and making that killer ball. And unfortunately, without Xavi and Maddison, you don't have that in the Tottenham squad at all. That's the only concern. But again, you've got to deal with it for now, and hopefully Maddison can come back. And also, obviously, Xavi, you know, it seems like he's progressing well with his ACL injury, so hopefully he'll be back, you know, sooner rather than later.
Absolutely, I bet he's dying to be on that pitch with Sávio. I think that's another bigger push for him, and you can tell he's already hungry, desperate, in fact, to get back on that pitch. But Joseph, I really appreciate you making that point, and it was a nice discussion there. And if we keep Kudus and Maddison fit, hopefully it'll be okay, even if it's just till January. So it all depends how it goes. It could go terribly wrong, have real injuries that position, but if they stay fit, it'd probably be okay. But just read out the comments before we do, and then go around the guests and see if we can find them on social media. We've got here from the Bin Guy, real lack of talents in general modern football industry. Kind of boring. That's a bold comment there. David Clark saying the first thing we need to do is not allow our opponents to have 26 shots on our goal with limited possession. That'd be a good place to start. Some people still praising Richie and Solanke, says the Bin Guy again. It's all about how boring football has become. Maybe find a different sport then. Robbie says we now have a more mature squad which will take us onwards and upwards. I completely agree with that. Luca Williams-Barnett will really land over this season, says Robbie, and will save us so much time and money over the transfer windows in the next few seasons. I echo this. Hopefully you don't go in for Robert Sanchez. Craig says, evening gents, 10 out of 10 window for me. Can't wait for Kudus, Marmoush and Sávio on the pitch together. Absolutely that. Robbie said, I'm glad we signed Sávio rather than Savinho. Robbie's got his score prediction in for Newcastle. He's going 2-2. Craig makes another comment saying opposition managers are going to pile in long throws and corners on our defence this season because we look weak currently. Aerially, it's a good point. Van Hecker is atrocious defending his own box. Guarantee Newcastle score from a header. Respectfully, hope that you're wrong on that one anyway. Robbie says Fernandes has the skills to fill the number 10 role effectively. Love this from Sonny. He says, come you Spurs, are you right, guys? End of season, I predict Marmoush in my 5 signings and him as the marquee. Then Ndai, Locatelli, Jones, Edison, City goalkeeper, etc. I can happily say that we've exceeded my expectations. You and me both. I think we've all exceeded those expectations, that's for sure. Even though we want this, we want that. I mean, I'll turn around and go, we're taking this before a ball was kicked this season. We were taking it before the window was open. I think absolutely we would. We'll end with a couple more. Sonny says, I'd love Munoz from Palace for cover instead of Gray at right back. Sell Gray and Bergvall as well with Sarr for Morgan Gibbs White. Any of those 3 plus cash I'd do. Interesting. That's the first comment I've seen in a long while that said you sell both Gray and Lucas Bergvall. Thank you though for your comments. Spurs should switch Lucas Bergvall's contract to a player modelling one. Okay, Bentancur and Holly, Fernandes in midfield, Sávio, Solanke and Marmoush. That sounds good to me. Okay, looking good. Thank you very much to everybody for their comments, for their questions, as always. And a big thank you to my panel for tonight. That does wrap us up for this episode of Scarfey Spurs Talk. Mark, firstly, thank you so much for coming back on. Always lovely to have you. Tell people where they can follow you across social media, because your content is fantastic and you're massive, as I always say, on Instagram. Where can people find it? Because I can only imagine, tell me if I'm wrong, but there's more content than ever with all the new signings, and particularly the season underway. First home game of the season as well this weekend.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thanks, Harry, for having me on. Always a pleasure to come and join you on here. And you always make me feel very welcome. So thank you. My content, Tottenham Days, can be found on Instagram and some on TikTok as well. Capturing match days and all of the emotions and sometimes questionable commitment that we all go through in terms of being Tottenham fans. So that's where you can find me. Looking forward to the game against Newcastle weekend. I'll be there. So hopefully have some more content being uploaded over the weekend. Watch this space.
Great stuff. I'll certainly be checking that out and encourage everybody and anybody to do so as well. Mark, thank you very much. You're welcome, as you know, anytime. Thank you for your time tonight. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on Scarfey Spurs. I really appreciate it, whether it's the fan perspective or your coaching perspective. We always do love it. And thank you for everything you do as well behind the scenes for me and for Scarfey Spurs. It would never go unnoticed. Tell people where they can follow you on social media. But again, same to you. Thanks for your time.
No, as always, Harry, thank you very much for having me on. Really appreciate it. It's been great being with Mark and Joseph, also strong panel. To find any more of my content, you can find me at the Tottenham Lens on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and X.
Great stuff. Sounds good. Go check out Anthony's content. There are lots of Tottenham stuff on there, and Anthony is everywhere as well across social media. So, Anthony, thank you so much. You often find him on here as well. Joseph, thank you so much for coming on. Really do appreciate it. Always welcome on as well. Where can people follow you on the socials? And, anything coming up for you on social media? Anything, don't know, is it, focusing on Spurs and Newcastle this weekend? Talk to people, any plans you've got?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Harry. Again, it's been great being involved in the channel, not just with Spurs, but also with the Premier League podcast you do. It's always great to get involved with it all. Again, great to meet you, Mark and Anthony. Really enjoyed talking, as well as Luke earlier as well. So it's great being a part of the podcast tonight. If you want to follow me, it's Joseph THFC on X. I'm also part of Project Spurs, which is another podcast that we do. And also, I'm a big fan of Juventus and American sports. So yeah, if you're interested in any of that, please go and follow me. The American NFL season and NBA is coming up, so really interested for that. And if you're interested in any of that, please do follow me. I'm happy to have a chat with anyone. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Joseph, thank you very much, and I bet you're glad that Juventus didn't sign Emi Martinez, considering your early comment about Martinez.
Well, I would have rathered him over Vicario, I'll be honest.
There is that. That's another way of looking at it. We'll tell you what, they're mad people, goalkeepers, that's for sure. I was told that once when I was young, and to be fair, I can't, to this day, prove that wrong. But thank you to everyone for listening to this episode of Scarfey Spurs. Hopefully next time you'll be hearing from us from a podcast point of view. Will be Monday 7 p.m. Well, it will be Monday 7 p.m, but hopefully you'll be reviewing a win over Newcastle, and we will have a transfer deadline day show. I can't confirm on Tuesday. I'll let you know how long we're going for and who's coming on, all to be confirmed. And also you can find a video with me sitting down with a City fan as well, which is amazing, from the American Citizen and part of 2 or 3 massive City podcasts. We're speaking about Omar Marmoush. You can check that out. That'll be out tomorrow morning around 7 a.m. Also another video with another City fan on Sávio. That is also out as well. So lots to check out, plenty to keep you covered with, as well as all the coverage on the game this weekend. A massive Common Spurs. Thank you very, very much.